everyone, welcome to Artistic Adventures. Today we're creating a wedding gown for a Monster High doll, although the technique could be used for any doll really. I'm going to warn you up front, this one's 14 minutes long, so stick with me. I did have an hour and a half of footage that I cut down. All right, we're going to start with the torso of a Monster High doll that I detached the arms, legs, and head from, and then wrapped in saran wrap. And we're going to cut out some stretchy white fabric. This is actually from a t-shirt. Sort of the similar technique that we used when we made a wig cap, if you saw that video. And we're going to glue it in the back because that's where the seam is going to be. And then once you get that, you can trim off the excess. Make sure the back is attached and use a pencil or something that's not going to spread. Like I didn't want to use a marker because I was afraid it would spread. And you're going to outline how you want your bodice to look. Mine's gonna have a little V down in the front, and this will be your guide for where you're going to put the glue, just so that you make sure you get glue everywhere you need it. And then just start slathering the glue on, making sure that you hit a little outside the line because you're going to end up cutting it, but you want to make sure you have a good coverage. All right, and then we're going to let that dry. And I did use E6000 in case you didn't catch the look of the tube. All right, and once that's dry, we're going to cut up the back of that, and you can peel away the excess folded over fabric, and then cut out just below the line, and we'll have our nice fitted bodice. And I also glued some additional pieces that were not part of the original wraparound because I wanted it to extend. That's going to be our flap where we put the Velcro. And now we're going to use paint. This is just acrylic paint, and we're going to paint the entire bodice. A lot of this is going to be covered up, so don't be worried that, oh, that's going to look tacky. No, it's going to end up looking great. And because we have this nice fitted look, it's going to look a lot more authentic. That's the problem with some of these smaller dolls. When you try to sew things for them, it's very difficult and they just don't end up looking right. Okay, now I found this gorgeous bridal fabric, and that's going to be our overskirt. Now it does have this lovely trim that on a typical adult size dress would be around the bottom. Um, Unfortunately, because of the smallness of the doll, we're not going to be able to use that as it's attached. So I'm going to cut it off. We're going to use it later, so hang on to it. All right, and now we're going to use a doll. This is a Dracula doll. And I want to measure from her waist to her feet. And I get it's about 6 inches. And it's going to tell us how long we're going to make the skirt. So overall, 6 plus 6, that's up one side and down the other, that's 12 inches. Now I'm going to mark off 6 inches in the middle. That's going to be the center of the skirt where the waist would be. And then I'm just doing diagonals to make marks so I can cut a circle. Hope that makes sense how I'm describing that. Basically just keep doing diagonals at different spaces, and then you end up getting the appearance of a circle that you can cut. And I cut just a little above that. Actually marked a little bit more than the 12 inches to give me some room to cut it below the mark so the mark's not on the fabric. Okay, so I've got my circle, that's the overskirt. You pick it up in the center dot, that's why we put the dot there, and you're going to do a little tiny hole. Remember I said these dolls are small? Well, the waist of Monster High dolls is incredibly small, and I guess Barbie too, really. So make sure you don't cut it too big or you'll ruin this whole project. Now I've got some satin. It's from an old slip that I found at a thrift store. And I'm just going around that making dots so I know where to cut my circle for this. This is going to be the underskirt. Okay, so we got our circle cut out there. And we put our overskirt so we can mark the center of that and make a little tiny hole in that. And you may think that hole is too small, but trust me, it's not. Okay. All right, now I put a little piece of plastic under there and then I'm using tacky glue to glue those two pieces together so they don't come apart. All right. Now I'm also going to put a little bit, about maybe an inch or inch and a half down. We're going to cut that so that it will be able to get it on and off the doll. Okay. And now I'm using that trim that we cut off, and I had to cut it in pieces because uh, it wouldn't lay right to try to do it all in one piece. And then just piecing that around the bottom of the lace overlay skirt. And I've got just some saran wrap down so that it doesn't stick to it from underneath. And continue that all the way around. I'm not going to show it on the video since this video is so long. Anyway, actually, I think I did show it all the way around. So anyway, continue to, sometimes I forget what I did or what I didn't do. All right, so continue all the way around until you have those pieces around the entire bottom of the skirt. Now, if you were using a solid fabric for a skirt, so like you wanted to make something that wasn't a wedding dress, you can use just like a piece of regular lace or some other type of trim around the bottom. You'll notice I have a little gap left at the end, and I'm just cutting one of the pieces out of that and gluing it down just so it kind of looks like a continuous piece. Okay, so that's going to cover up our raw edge and make a nice decorative finish for the outside. Now I'm also using that same overlay fabric, and I'm going to cut out some of the pretty embroidery and their sequins and pearls in to put on the bodice and decorate the bodice. So this is one of the larger one. It has 3 flowers in it. There's some that have 2, some that have 3. So I'm just going to cut that out of the gauze. You don't have to cut it right around the edges because it kind of blends in when you glue it on. Okay, fit it on there how you want it. Trim it up a little bit. And then we're going to put some tacky glue on the back of it and attach it to the bodice. Yeah, well, that's good. And trim up some more of the edges um, where that hangs over it, and also just some of the edges where there's fabric that sticks out from where we glued it. So it's nice and smooth. Okay, now we're going to use some additional trim. This is lace with pearl, and we're going to use E6000 because it tends to dry a little faster than the tacky glue. And if you notice there on that side, I didn't go all the way to the end because that's going to be underneath. The other side will fold over it, so I will go all the way to the end on the other side. And there, I'm cutting one of the pearls out so that it'll fit against the pearl in the middle of the bodice. Okay, so we finished that. And as I said, all the way to the edge of this side. And that will be the side that folds over. And there's that part. And we're going to do some more to the bodice, but not until we attach it to the skirt. Now the skirt, I want to make sure it's even because even though I used that technique with the dots and all that, it's still a little bit uneven. So fold it in half and also in fourths and make sure that you have the edges trimmed up, and that looks good. Now we're going to take our scissors and cut that back part that we glue. That's going to allow us to get it on the doll, but let the waist stay small. All right. So that actually was perfect. So you see that waist was not too small after all. All right, so we got that part. Now we're going to use our saran wrapped torso again because we're going to glue the bodice onto the skirt. Yep, just like that. So first of all, just, take a look, make sure it fits right, and you get, the overlap in the back lined up with the back of the bodice and the skirt. Put the E6000 on the bottom and then carefully attach it so that you don't smear it on the skirt. If you have a little bit that peeps out, that's okay because we're going to actually use these little appliques I cut out from that fabric to put over the edge. I put a rather large one in the middle of the bodice and it hangs down over the skirt, and that really disguises that seam. You don't have to do that. There's lots of things you can do that. You could put the string of pearl, like those little pearls, you could put those around that. Lots of different things you could do with that, or a different kind of lace. But I like this design on this overskirt. So pretty. So using it with the bodice, it really, I think it complements the skirt as well. Okay, so we got both sides. We got two smaller pieces that we put there on the overlap. Any little pieces that stick up you can glue. Now I'm going to take some Velcro, put one on the side underneath, and then one on the side that folds over with glue. And I'm also going to use pearls so that it would look like little pearl buttons down the back all the way down through that slit that we made in the skirt. And I just glue that down. Although later I did go back and anchor the bottom with thread just so that it wouldn't rip. And now I'm putting a really loose stitch through some tulle because I want to make an underskirt so that the skirt of the dress will stand out a little bit more than it is right now. And then I just turn it, once I get it completed, I gather up enough to go all the way around the waist. And then I'm going to take that part and just sew it to the underneath of the skirt at the waist. I'm not going to try to glue that. It's actually, that one was easier to sew because of the gathers. All right. So once you think you've got enough to go around the waist, just tie off your thread and then we'll attach it to the underneath of the skirt. It seems so funny to see that this goes so fast in the video because it really took me all day to make this dress. And I had an hour and a half of video that I cut down. If we could only move this fast in person. All right, so I'm tying off the end there of that tulle skirt and cut the excess off. And then we just turn the gown over underneath. And there's the waist underneath. And then I'm just going to take and stitch that to the skirt. Okay. Now the last part of this is we've got that satin underskirt. We need to put glue around on that. That's going to hold the fabric together and keep it from fraying. And now for the finishing touches. I did make a little pearl bracelet for her, and their hands do come off so you can stick the bracelet on there. And I also made a pretty bouquet for her out of some paper miniature flowers. And we're going to put that in her hands, and perfect. So I'm really pleased with how this project turned out. I do think she needs a veil. What do you think? If you'd like to see a video on making a veil, just make a comment below and I'll be happy to do that, or anything else you'd like to see. As you know, I do lots of things for dolls, repaints, shoes, bags. This is the first dress video that I've uploaded. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. It was a challenge, but I think it turned out great. Please like it below and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the fun coming up in the future. Thanks and bye.